The alcoholism days are pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Austin.
No, I want to start drinking again, just so I can make those kind of decisions. Man, I got pulled over one time. I had to like fly back to see my family for Christmas. It was the day before Christmas Eve, and I went out to a bar with like Joe Stats, and I had like 9 beers. And me and Jake had fought the night prior to that, so I had like a giant black eye. And I had 9 beers, and then I took a beer. Somehow they just let me take a beer with me from the bar, which is not, I don't know. So I'm driving, and Joe's trashed too, and I'm like, I have like a tall boy on my lap. And then I pass by this cop, and I'm like, immediately I'm like, fuck, shit, fuck, you're a cop, fuck. And then the cop's following me. I'm like, shit. And then I like, there's a red light, and I like pull halfway into it, like while the light's still red. And I'm just like fucking up. I'm like, God damn it. And then Joe's like, just take a left here, take a left here. And he's like, you know, in my ear, and light turns green. I turn left. I've turned left onto like a divided highway. So I'm like going the wrong way down the divided highway. And Joe's like, just jump the curb, just jump the curb. And I'm like, no, man. I'm like, I'm fucked, you know. So I'm like, I'm going to jail, and I fucking just pull off in the first side street. I put my hazards on, and I'm like, I can't believe this, dude.
Wait, the cop lit you?
I pulled over first before he could light me because I had fucked up. So I put my emergencies on and I just pulled over, and I was waiting for him. And then, I threw the hazards on. I'm like, I'm going to jail. I'm fucking going to jail. But then the cop pulled up behind me and threw the hazards on. And then, like, somehow he comes to the window. I'm like, I can't believe this shit. And I roll down the window, and the cop's like, hey, how you doing tonight? I'm like, yeah, I'm real sorry about that. And then, like, me and Joe were just, first of all, a lot of it is just white privilege. But, like, immediately I was like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm driving him home. He's giving me directions, and he's fucking trashed, or whatever. Yeah. And Joe's, like, screaming already, He's, like, just hamming up how drunk he is or whatever. Cool. And I had given the beer in my lap to Joe beforehand. He just poured it on himself and crammed it under the seat. So the cop's like, okay, so you know why you're pulled over? I'm like, yeah, obviously. He's driving the wrong way down the thing. He's like, okay. He's like, have you been drinking tonight? And I was like, I had, like, 2 beers, I was like, I had one with, like, dinner and then another one, just right before we left the bar. But I'm not like drunk or anything. He's like, okay, well, can you get out of the car just so I can make sure all that smell is coming from him? I was like, yeah, sure. And then still in my head, I'm like, I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
And so the cop brings me around behind the car, and he's like, just hang tight for a second. And then he like talks.
Just goes and just beats the shit out of you.
Yeah.
I'm going to whoop your drunkard friend.
Yeah. So they talk to Joe, and they come back over to me, and the cop looked just like David Bowie.
Oh, weird.
He looked like a Jack David Bowie.
Yeah.
Like a cop David Bowie.
He's like Major Tom, the ground control.
Yeah. We've got a couple of black guys wandering around the back of the bank.
Young Americans. They were black and they were driving.
And they deserved it. Yeah, so this cop looked just like David Bowie, and like drunk part of my mind is like, tell him he looks like David Bowie. He'll think that's like cool. You'll ingratiate yourself to the cop. He's gonna be like, oh, for real, man?
I love the Star Child.
Yeah. Luckily I didn't. He was like, okay, like I do smell alcohol. He's like, you only had 2 drinks, and he's like, are you telling the truth? And I was like, yeah, it was 2. It was like 1 with dinner and then 1 just now. He's like, okay. He's like, I do smell a little alcohol in your breath. I don't think you're lying to me. If you'd said you hadn't been drinking, then we'd have a fucking issue. But, he's like, I'm going to let it slide. So he's like, what you want to do? And he, like, brings me back to my car, and he's like, you just go around here, take a right, and then, make sure you get on the right side of the road, coming around. I'm like, all right, thanks, and then I'm, like, just sitting there with Joe. I'm like, holy fucking shit, I can't believe that worked. And as I was saying that, the cop was like, he was back at the window. He's like, yeah, you forgot your ID. And I was like, thanks, man. Yeah. And I really have no idea how I got out of that one.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.